population of 66 million people. Nearly 2.5 million are Indigenous. These people live in the mountainous areas in the northern part of the country. Nearly a third of Thailand is forest, where most Indigenous people live. The Karen are the largest Indigenous group in Thailand, with about 700,000 people. They have a system of agriculture and natural resource management that's allowed them to subsist in harmony with the environment for centuries. Their life in the forest is a symbiosis between human development, food security, environmental protection, sustainability, and spiritual beliefs.
Trees, the human being, always relate to each other. But in your ancestors, it is women. Grandmom always have the name Mukha Kle. Kle is the banyan tree. The current people believe that the burning come through Mukha and come through the banyan trees. And when they give birth, you take some umbilical to tie the trees. And that tree become a part of the life of that human being to protect or to help each other.
The Karen way of life can't be understood nor developed outside of these forested areas and without this relationship with the environment. Sadly, this Indigenous knowledge of sustainable resource management and food production is misunderstood by the Thai government and many outsiders. The rotational farming system, particularly the use of burning, has been criminalised. It's part of an integrated resource management system including agroforestry, paddy fields, hunting, gathering wild foods, and raising domestic animals. Rotational farming involves crop diversity and maintains a balance between land, water, and forest. It supports biodiversity of plants and animals, ensuring self-sufficient food production throughout the year. In a rotational farming system, there are between 7 to 10 plots of land. Only one plot is burnt each year, while the rest is left fallow. This gives each plot 7 to 10 years to recover and restore biodiversity. Criminalisation of Indigenous farming practices is due to burning, but this burning is part of a cycle of agriculture that sustains biodiversity. If the cycle is broken by forcing communities to rely on a single piece of land, the health of people and the environment suffers. So how does the traditional cycle of land management work in a Karen village? February marks the beginning of the rotational farming cycle, when each family performs a ceremony tying strings onto wrists. In this ceremony, people renew their ties with Mother Nature and ask forgiveness for using her resources. A supreme being is asked to look after the crops and to give the community good health in the new cycle that begins. Only after this ceremony, a plot is cleared and prepared for farming. Burning removes weeds and insects from the plot of land like a natural pesticide. It changes the soil temperature, moisture, and nutrients. It increases the amount of nitrogen available for new seeds, helping them to grow. It's true that burning the same piece of land for many years is bad for the environment, but within a crop rotation system, like Karen people use, it supports food security without damaging the environment. Burning is the first step. Trees are cut down, but will sprout again. A fire break around the plot is cleared to contain the fire and protect the fallow land. After the plot is burned, before planting, young people participate in a fertility ritual called sowing the mother rice. Then, all together, the community sows the rice using wa bow sticks. Within a week or two of burning, the field begins to sprout. Rice is planted along with more than 30 varieties of vegetables. This is how a plot of land with rice and mixed crops looks after a few weeks. Some vegetables are almost ready to harvest already. Before the harvest, there is a ritual called wa khe. It's an offering to the spirit of the mountains and rivers, to Mother Rice, and to the spirit of fire. This ritual is to remove bad influences from the field and to ask the soil for forgiveness. Then harvest season begins. The rice will be threshed and stored for eating all year round. Most rice is used to feed the community rather than for selling. Next year, the cycle begins again on a plot last used 7 to 10 years ago. How does biodiversity recover on the burnt plot of land after harvest? In the first and second year, 16 different types of wild food plants and 7 different herbs appear. 7 kinds of wildlife return. By the 4th year, 13 different animals and 12 types of birds can be seen on the land. By the 6th year, 75 different plants used by Karen people are on the land. 30 different bird species share the land now. Fallow plots are the backbone of rotational farming. Leaving a plot for several years to regenerate is essential for biodiversity and agricultural productivity. This is why rotational farmers like Karen people nurture the regenerating forest lands throughout fallow years. Karen people use the products of the regenerating forest, so it's in their interests to promote biodiversity. They save more than 200 types of seeds for cultivation, promoting conservation of native species. Many people think that slashing and burning is Indigenous agriculture, which is why it has been criminalised. But Indigenous agriculture is much more complex. It has greater harmony with forest life than industrial methods. Karen people's food sources reflect the biodiversity of the forest. More than half their diet comes from this rotational farming. A third comes from the paddy fields, and the rest comes from community forest or village gardens. Attitudes are changing. Today, Indigenous environmental management is more valued internationally. As the world addresses climate change, we're learning how Indigenous agricultural methods can store carbon. Research has shown that while some carbon is released when a plot is burned, much more is stored in the soil in the years the plot is fallow. So the Karen way of resource management is a method of carbon sequestration. Burning within a rotational farming system doesn't cause climate change. As part of a rotational farming system, it supports food sovereignty and crop biodiversity. It supports sustainable communities. Hopefully, in time, rather than being criminalised, Karen villages will be celebrated for their contribution to global environmental sustainability.